Cameras can be used to visualize the interior of a space, and that's what we'd like to do in this case. Let's go ahead and take a look of what it would be like to stand inside of our great room and to visualize our dining room, our kitchen area, and even part of the great room, and what it would be like to really be standing in the space. In order to do that, first make sure you go to your first floor view, come up here to view, because we're going to be viewing all this space, and come underneath 3D view and pick a camera. Now we're going to be standing here with a camera and essentially taking a snapshot from that location where we're standing at. Because of that, we need to move the camera to where we would be standing if we actually wanted to take a picture of the inside of our house. In this case, I'm going to be standing right about here in the great room. The reason why I'm choosing this spot is if I was right here, I really wouldn't be able to see the dining room. If I was standing right here, I'd have a big wall in my way. So by standing way back here, we can encompass it all inside of a single shot. Come down here and click once you're in the spot you want to be standing in. Once you're there, point the camera in the direction you want to be able to take the shot. In this case, anything that's inside of the cone is what you're going to be able to take a picture of. It's much like looking inside of the viewfinder, the rangefinder there inside of your camera and looking in a direction. Anything you can see in that, that's what's going to be taken in the picture. That's exactly what's happening here with this cone that's opening up where we're looking at the dining room and the kitchen. One other thing of note, the reason why I'm taking this to the outside of the building is so we can pick up anything that might be along the exterior. At some point we might have some trees out here. We definitely have a deck on the other side of our glass doors. And we'll be able to see all that because the camera is pointing out far enough to be able to take a nice picture of it. So once you get a cone that looks about like this, go ahead and click. You can see how it's automatically generated an interior shot of our space for us. If you don't quite like the way things are centered or you'd like to move things around a little, just click on these little blue dots, hold your mouse button down, and just adjust them. If you want to be able to see a little bit less floor or a little bit more floor, you can do that. If you want to be able to see some of the railings over here, you can do that as well. One disclaimer, though, that I want to add to that is that the more you stretch this out, the more distorted it's going to get toward the edges, because you can only in real life see so far around before the cone of sight just doesn't allow you to see anymore. And once it gets beyond this point, particularly if you're drawing a perspective view, things just start to get distorted and stretched. So if you start to see that, stand farther back with your camera or just start to pull this in so you don't see any kinds of distortion around the perimeter. Going through this process is a great way to visualize what you've been doing. Before we get too far, there's one other thing that we should do, and that is we should rename the view that we just created where it says 3D views here on the side. And right now it says 3D view 1. So that we don't forget this is what this camera is taking a picture of. Select on the words called 3D view 1, right click, and come up here on the menu to rename. Now we're going to be calling this interior dash kitchen and dining, and click on OK to that. Now if we ever need to come back to that view, all you have to do is double click on it and we'll automatically see this view again. Just as an example, earlier on we created some exterior views, and you can see if I double click on it, it'll automatically take us back to that view, and if we come back to our kitchen view, we'll be back to that kitchen. One final thing that I wanted to show is if we come down here to the bottom of the screen, there's this option here called Visual Styles, and right now it's set at Hidden Line. If you change this to Shaded, or if you change it to Realistic, you'll start to get an idea of some of the different material properties that we have inside of our space. Also, we can start to see the windows that we placed, the light fixtures that we placed, the walls, kitchen cabinets, all these items, and begin to feel the reason why we put all this little detail into our building. It isn't just to build it, but to be able to visualize our design. The reason why we put our sink here at that exact spot in the countertop where there was a hole in the countertop. Because otherwise we wouldn't be able to see this white on the inside of the kitchen sink. It just would have been a countertop going through it. As a result of this and all the detail and level of detail that we placed into our design, we can now, by placing cameras, be able to step back and best visualize everything that we've accomplished.